that it's not about the wood and illegal logging. It's about the labor content in the wood. And the government apparently prefers that labor content be outside the United States. Just kind of a bizarre thing.
Again, we're talking to the CEO of Gibson Guitar. Sir, even Congressman Dennis Kucinich on CNN last night pointed out that the head of the President's Economic Council, the former head of General Electric, is actually getting incentives to move General Electric's X-ray division out of the U.S. As I said, 3 of our factories were paid for with the bailout of General Motors to move them to Eastern Europe, China, and Brazil. So that is undoubtedly what's happening. The congressman has the headline here, Obama's job czar, expert at creating foreign jobs. Can you speak to that?
Well, all I can say is that this is costing us money. It's making us less competitive, and it will certainly impact, jobs here in the United States. And it's really making me question whether we're valued, in the U.S.
Well, don't let him win, sir. Don't let him run you out to China, because then you've got to go through one of the Chinese generals. And that's why the big cats, fat cats, did this deal decades ago with China. They admit it, where only select operations are allowed to move there. Certainly you could move to Mexico or somewhere else, but I think once you're in their sights, they're going to keep coming after you. I think it's up to the American people, if they want any industry or craftsmanship left in this country, to come to your aid. What can we do to help Gibson Guitar stay open and stay in the United States?
Well, we're hoping that people call their congressmen, their senators, their politicians, and let them know that this is not fair and not right, and to do whatever they can, not only to address the problem we have as Gibson, but I think this is a nationwide problem where we need to address this much broader than just our individual situation. This is happening with other companies in various areas where regulation is creeping in and being applied irrationally and hostilely.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
Sir, in 1984, a fictitious nightmare police state scenario, Winston doesn't know what he's being accused of. And, of course, in the famous a novel that Kafka wrote, we get the term Kafkaesque because in the end he's convicted of a crime and sentenced to death and doesn't even know why he was sentenced to death. And more, we're seeing that people are being sentenced and never even finding out. It's just they're told national security. And I know you were raided a few years ago. You've been raided again. And you can't even find out when you talk to them why you're being raided. I mean, in the Constitution, you have an ability to know what you're being charged with and to face your accuser.
That's right, and it's pretty bizarre to be in our predicament. Not much I can say except it's a nightmare.
We're talking to Henry Juszkiewicz, the CEO of Gibson Guitar. And, of course, you can go to Gibson.com and see all the latest press releases. Sir, I want to, instead of, sitting here asking you questions, I'd like to give you the floor, because in the press conference I saw a lot of media there, but the audio wasn't too good on the YouTube version. So I'd like to give you the floor here, to really speak about what you think is most important. I would also like to ask you about the armed nature of it, how you were treated like you were criminals instead of working with our industry and saying, hey, you might do this a little bit better. But I noticed that with the vitamin industry, they tried that. and now the government's trying to shut them down. So, unfortunately, they don't want to work with you, and even if you try, they're going to come after you. These are parasites who could care less about our economy or our future, but you've got the floor, sir.
Well, I think you're a lot more eloquent than I am, and all I can say is that in fact the government is using drug enforcement hostile techniques. We are just a guitar factory. We're a small business that's very successful. We're hiring people. We are competing successfully overseas and exporting. And we're talking about, an import and export paperwork issue that should not, be dealt with people with loaded guns and bulletproof vests, intimidation techniques. We've had hourly employees put into rooms with 5 or 6 armed people and interrogated without their attorney present. You're talking about really hostile action, and no one has come to us and said, fellas, here's the problem. We have an issue with this. Let's deal with it. Their first response was SWAT raids with guns, and they shut our business down. They injured us. It was an attack. And we have no recourse. There isn't even a judicial recourse. We are trying to fight this in court. And the government is trying to stay the judicial proceedings so that we can't even fight and get our day in court. So anyway, I think we are being treated unfairly, way disproportionate to any possible cause. I think that their ability to do that, really, we have to think about what that means for our democracy and for other people who could be put in this exact same situation. And so, I asked for reason, and I asked for fairness.
Well, you're not going to get that from the federal Gestapo anymore. They admit they want a post-industrial United States. That's what the whole green tyranny, carbon tax is about. Only their friends are going to be able to operate now in America. Al Gore has said it. They've all stated it. And this is their program. This is the mafia takeover of America. We're talking to Henry Juszkiewicz, the CEO of Gibson Guitar, a growing American company, 60% foreign. I know Gibson gets more and more popular. They have an entertainment office here in Austin. They're bucking the trend with American craftsmanship, just like Harley Davidson and others. And the system does not like this, and they harass every major American company that is left that's not an insider. But, sir, you brought up something that's the heart of the matter. We've seen raids on dairy farms that sell raw milk to Whole Foods and people legally, and raw milk cheese. And they do the same thing. They show up and say, we're going to say all your cows have mad cow and kill all of them unless you sign a form admitting you did something illegal. They just make it up. Or they show up to Amish and he literally put guns to their heads and scream and cuss and say, admit you're guilty. I mean, they're worse than Gestapo. I mean, the Gestapo were polite till they got you to a camp. The ATF head just resigned, caught shipping guns into Mexico, then blamed the Second Amendment here, caught perjuring himself. It turns out the White House ordered it. I think we've got to come to grips with these are really nasty people, or they're going to continue to have the moral high ground. But you mentioned that they got employees in there without their lawyers and began these interrogations. That is unconstitutional. That is official oppression. That is illegal. And I hope that you look to get on the offensive with a civil suit against these people and that organizations come to your aid, sir.
We are looking for every legal remedy, and, and we'll go to the Supreme Court if we have to.
Well, I want to say this. We all hang together or we hang separate. You know who said that? Benjamin Franklin. One of our founding fathers. I don't think our founding fathers had this in mind for their democracy. Well, our republic is in deep trouble, sir. We're going to break here in a moment. We'll come back and do 5 more minutes. You've been very gracious with your time. But specifically, what more can you tell us about getting people in rooms alone with armed green police?
Well, you know, not much more needs to be said. I mean, it was a pretty frightening situation. People didn't know. These were ordinary workers on the factory floor. They were pretty freaked out. And, you know, in addition to that, several of these people in subsequent interrogations by the Justice Department were threatened with 5 years in prison. Well, that may very well be the fact. I mean, they are being threatened, and the coercive techniques were used, and fortunately, you know, we have good people here at Gibson, and everyone here is, you know, really feels terrible about this. We all love the company. We've done nothing wrong, and the intimidation isn't working.
By the way, I mean, these floor workers, I mean, they have nothing to do with the importation and working of it. Everybody knows they're totally innocent.
You know, that's right. I mean, I'm the head guy of the company. If they want to come after someone, they should come after management. And, you know, it just really sent chills down my spine for them to go after, you know, normal people that, you know, don't deal with lawyers, and they don't have a squad of legal people. And in fact, you know, the company didn't have to support those people. They could have been on their own. You know, if we did support them, we hired independent lawyers for them to protect their own personal interest. But that didn't have to happen. It's just not right.
And by the way, this fishing expedition is now going into its 3rd year. This started in 2009.
Yes, sir.
Wow. I mean, I see it all the time where they throw the book at somebody who gets a drop of motor oil in their backyard, but then we're shipping all our jobs to China where they just dump the toxic waste right in the ocean. I mean, how is America supposed to operate with these all these new offices that have been erected and the swarms of agents that have been sent out to eat out our substance?
It's very difficult to do business with these issues facing you.
Now, have you seen an upswing in orders, though, with the people sympathetically trying to support American jobs?
A lot of people have been calling in. Yes, we have seen an upswing in orders. Of course, it's only been a couple of days since the raid, but people are just pouring letters and support in from all over the country and all over the world. And yes, we have seen an uptick in people buying product.
So they certainly realize that it's important to have jobs here in America. And in closing, sir, they're claiming that it's because you were working the wood, that it's evil to have jobs here.